Wendell Holmes famously declared Boston the hub of the universe. It was arguably America's cultural and commercial capital. While those glory days have long since gone, Boston has enjoyed a renaissance in recent years. Tonight's Focus Report looks at Boston's rising star in the global economy. Just a few decades ago, Boston was considered a stagnant and insular city.
Boston had been losing population. There hadn't been new construction downtown. It was considered a city of the past.
Ira Jackson served as Mayor Kevin White's chief of staff and remembers when, in the midst of the school busing crisis, White proposed that Boston become a world-class city.
He was ridiculed.
But that change in tone unleashed 3+ decades of development, most notably South Boston's waterfront. Dismissed for years as a giant parking lot, it now stands transformed as the Innovation District. And investment in Logan Airport has made it an international hub.
I think the direct flights from Dubai and Beijing to Boston's Logan Airport symbolize that we're soaring.
And that's just the beginning. Up on the 9th floor of City Hall, Karos Shen points to a 3-dimensional model of the city that fills most of the room. Every single building is built to scale, including those now in the planning stages.
We anticipate in the next 30 years that if all the plans come to fruition, there's 60 million square feet of development that we plan for. The waterfront area here, you can see, most of these buildings actually don't exist today.
As planning director for Boston's Redevelopment Authority, Shen says moving Boston forward while keeping it true to its roots has been one of his main challenges.
How we blend the old and the new, the small and the big in a city like ours is what makes us so unique.
That unique dynamism is what attracts entrepreneurs from around the world, like Nadav Efrati, who relocated his water purification company from Tel Aviv last year.
The top reasons for which we've decided to come to Boston is the combination of a very strong cluster of water treatment company, a very strong support from the governor and his administration, and the fact that this is simply one of the best places around the States to live in.
And unlike other high-tech cities, Boston offers history and culture, the kind of place where you can bump into world-renowned thinkers and writers, like historian David McCullough.
I think Boston is a city that belongs with the top cities in the world. You have the Public Garden, which is like no other public garden in America. And certainly Commonwealth Avenue is one of the great boulevard avenues anywhere. There's nothing that I can think of comparable, except perhaps in Paris.
From Dubai to Beijing, Ira Jackson says people around the world now see Boston as a model of urban renaissance.
Boston, despite the fact that many of us think of it as a fairly parochial town, sometimes is definitely captured the imagination of the world.
My next guest knows what draws people to Boston. Dusty Rhodes is president of the special events firm Conventures. Welcome to Greater Boston.
Thank you.
You are sort of the bellwether of all things Boston. I'm curious, you've been doing the events business since the 70s or maybe even earlier. What has changed? What kinds of events, the planning, the people who come? How have you seen things develop?
Boston has opened its arms to international events and international visitors, and that has been so key to the economic development, the economic impact that it has. And therefore, the businesses and those agencies representing Boston are welcoming those visitors because of the economic dollars it will bring to our city.
Back in the 1990s, the Boston Globe did a series asking the question, what does Boston have to do to become a world-class city? Is that question passed? Is it now in your mind?
Absolutely. Boston is a world-class city. In fact, we are ranked in the world, in the United States, the #1 international meetings location beyond Washington, D.C., beyond New York, beyond Chicago. Boston is the #1 international meeting spot.
All right, let's bring another voice into this, Chad O'Connor. He's the contributing editor of the Globe's tech site, Beta Boston. So when you look at global business hubs around the world, Chad, how does Boston measure up to some of those?
Well, my other capacity, teaching at Northeastern, I can tell you flat out, just walking the campuses around here, you will see the tremendous influx of international students that really has taken over a large share of the traffic that happens within our education community. We really are a place where the world sends its people to be educated. You add to that the factor of the density of the medical cluster around Longwood, and the ability for teaching faculty to interact with venture capital, to interact with other startups, to look for possible partnership opportunities here. The density of this region, to broaden this out from what we consider Boston when we think of it as just the parochial sense, to really thinking about when the world thinks of Boston, it's everything within that 128 Beltway, even 495 Beltway. When you look at that as a total share, Phil Budden, who's the former British consul, talks about Citizens Bank, where he is now, 70,000 jobs within this region come from foreign direct investment. It's a huge piece of what people just don't think about when they show up to work every day, and really thinking about what's that influx of international dollars really meant.
So, I mean, everybody always points to our medical community, our education system, but is it enough? I mean, and certainly the innovation district has really come up, but is there a piece missing?
That is the bedrock of it all. To the point about the students, for example, a fifth of all the students in colleges right now are international students. Out of 41,000, over 16,000.
Wow.
And that basis is growing exponentially each year. The number of students from China, for example, coming here has grown 168% in 2 years.
Wow. And I'm sure you're involved in the coverage of this, but the State's Convention Center Authority says that the Boston Convention Center is losing money because the Convention Center, the BCEC, just isn't big enough. They want to double its size. Some people are saying it's $1.1 billion extension. So some people, like Charlie Chipio from the Pioneer Institute, says it's not a good idea. He says in recent years, Las Vegas, Orlando, Atlanta, and Chicago, 4 cities that do more convention business than Boston, all expanded their convention centers amidst identical claims. In each case, convention business dropped after the expansions were complete. They're looking for a $1.1 billion bond likely to do this. Do you think it's a good idea, Chen?
Yeah, so I think in any situation, and maybe a parallel case to think about this is really what's going on now within the co-working space. There's been a glut of co-working space that's opened up within the city within the last year, and more coming online this year. You're going to see a short-term drop-off in anything because of just how much added capacity there is, but you need to be able to do a better job then of attracting international pieces to fill that up. It's not all going to be homegrown. The same is going to go for any sort of convention traffic, so I'm sure you'd be well justified in claiming that you need that extra capacity in order to go out and then market the bigger pieces. To just build that kind of awareness and that kind of flow of traffic through here takes time.
And just this is something that we harp on here. The transportation infrastructure doesn't work yet, anyway, for the Seaport District.
But it is getting the attention it needs. And those working within the Transportation Department, we are finally focused on the fact that that has got to get fixed. Our public transportation, we've got to make the investment. And I feel, coupled with that, the mitigation of the Seaport District and all that traffic is being zeroed in on by all the agencies, and they're all working very cooperatively. And I think
we just saw them scuttle the one out here for Alston, which is desperately needed as well, because we're like an addendum to the. We're just sitting sort of out here alone. There's no way to get here.
Talking about the airline transportation for a moment, what we've done in the last year between Tokyo, Dubai, Beijing, Panama City, which is the gateway to Latin America.
Istanbul.
Yeah. Those investments of those direct flights is going to be enormous for our inbound international tourism.
All right. Dusty Rhodes, Chad O'Connor, thanks so much for coming tonight.